Socrates.
Socrates, yeah.
And yo, you had a lot of ill dudes from out here who were doing ill shit. You know what I mean? And then his wave just came over because if you really look at the inception of Drake into the music business, bro, that's when streaming was in its premature stage, right? So if you think about it, Drake, if you could find a correlation between Drake's rise and streaming, right? So, but when you look at the aspect of quality, to me, there's none. There's none. All you're just hearing is bits and pieces of things that are not his being put together. You know, there's really no authenticity in that process, none at all. I mean, great production when it comes to the engineers, but when it comes down to the music, I just don't feel it. It's just not me. Like, I will never remember a Drake joint. That's just me, unless you bang me in the head with it. So, that's not me. Kendrick, on the other hand, I took the privilege of listening to his Mr. Morale and all the other. There is substance there. There's a lot of creativity there. There's a lot of depth there. When you listen to Drake's music, there's not really much depth. There's none. So that's just me.
Yeah, good point on that, man. Because I'm like, dude, you benefited heavily off the streaming era, man. You did the same thing to Meek Mill. You had Burger King commercials who was clowning that man.
Right. And the thing is, too, is that now what made his legacy even worse, now you're trying to sue the label stating that they were more in favor of Kendrick and how they dealt with the metrics. So if you really look at it, it's very hypocritical. And to me, I think that's a Vanilla Ice move.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so I think going ahead in history, unless these young kids act like they don't know, but he will go down to us older heads as a Vanilla Ice type of dude. You know what I mean? Where it's like you're trying to be something that you're not, and then on top of that, you're trying to double down by biting the hand that fed you. That's not cool, bro. You should take your lick and move on. But you decide to go sue the label? No.
And see, the thing is, and when we look at it from the order of Battle and Skin, which they did give us one of the great battles of all time, going back and forth, because I respected Drake for the fact that he actually jumped in the booth. You know, as my brother would say, you know, don't talk about this, that, and the other, go on these blogs. No, jump in the booth if you got something to say. Kendrick won. I mean, obviously, when we look at, but when we also look at it too, y'all, the issues that Drake has had over the years. When we look at The Weeknd, who is exceptionally talented, you know, when you look at The Weeknd, who basically, you know, wrote Drake's first album, and the fact is that, you know, basically Drake kind of gave him the heave-ho. And I'm like, dude, he basically wrote all of your hits. So, go ahead. No, you got a thought. Run with it. Go.
An entire label, an entire roster of artists, more than 15 artists, and none of them have broken mainstream. None. None. From Party Next Door to all the other cats, the other female artists. You can't even... I live here, bro, I'm telling you, bro, you can't even name 5 artists on the OVO label besides Drake. You can't. Because their music is not being pushed as hard as enough. And me personally, I think OVO is a farming league. It's a farming den. In other words, that it's like, get all the great minds together, let them write, I take what I want, I act as if like I'm signing them, but the truth is, it's a Chinese laundry. That's all it is. It's nothing else. So I think a lot of people now, a lot of artists are now starting to see that. Now, a lot of guys who signed to OVO, they're locked up heavy in a lot of different contracts. They cannot get out. Even if they try to get out, everything will be snatched back from them because they don't own anything.
Right.
So that's why I think of OVO. It's a sweatshop, nothing else.
And
that. Go ahead, King. Go ahead.
Man, I guess he giving Nike a run for his money, ain't he?
I think when we look at that too, y'all, this is a more panoramic view. You know, we look at the macro of it in the sense of how artists sign to labels, because his story is a common thread in terms of what you so astutely articulated. But this goes on in a lot of labels in terms of where we've heard situations. We can only speak on stuff because it's been said publicly, because on off the cuff we will never slander anybody on anything, on hearsay. We will only speak on what has been said publicly, like the situation, like what they were saying about with Dre making the beat, that Dre is one of the greatest producers ever, arguably the greatest ever. But we've heard stories for years that
Dre he didn't do a lot of some of those productions.
Yeah,
that's true. He did not do a lot of those productions. No.
Mm-hmm. Daz did a lot of it. Shout out to Ken.
Sir was working with him, but a lot of those things that Dre has gotten a lot of accreditation for, he didn't do half of them shits. Well, we know this. We know this. That's the thing. We know this. But could we prove it? Unless we go and start like reading the fine print. How much people are going to look at the fine print? How many of us are going to look at the fine print? Not much, right?
Right.
But the thing with Drake is he has glorified ghostwriting. He has glorified lack of creativity. He has glorified some of the kind of weird shit. You know what I mean? Like, back in our days, there were certain types of clothing you don't wear.
Damn sure they done put bows in your head.
Exactly. You know, like in our days, there were certain types of bars you don't say. You know what I mean? Like that's the sort of thing he has glorified now. You know what I mean? And even if he tries to do crossovers, like he'll do dancehall crossovers and stuff like that. Even if he does that, it still doesn't hit like how KRS-One and Mad Lion will come with a crossover, or Chip Fu and those guys will come with a crossover. I mean, it don't hit the same. So that's what I'm saying. He created a very sacky kind of whiny type of hip hop. You know, so it just don't roll with me. So I just don't listen to his stuff. I don't.
Hey, you know what? Too, check this, man. This is what I was telling my partner about. That industry paint job is something else, man. Because
say it that
industry paint job is something else, man. Because if you really peel the layers back, as Pusha T said, this guy is really Brian Austin Green rapping. That's all he is. And Brian Austin Green, no disrespect to him, because I like 90210. I thought he was alright up there, but that's what Drake really up there. That's who he really is. He just have better writers around him. Then you got that image. They have him like they pedestalize him to think like, man, he up there with Jay and them. I'm like, hold up, what?
That's the problem. The thing is, like, that's why I kind of like have respect for guys like Raw, because young as Raw is, he still encompasses the early 90s and early 80s type of hip hop. So when you listen to what people are listening to now, like, there's no depth in anything, bro. If you listen to what is considered a motivational track or a deep track in any of these new artists now, you could not identify even their bars or what they're saying.
Right.
There's no intricacy of anything anymore. There's